Throughout the years, the National Football League has downplayed concussions, from current Commissioner Roger Goodell to his predecessor Paul Tagliabue, and even his predecessor Pete Rozelle. The reason is rather simple. Linking pro football to traumatic brain injuries would harm the brand, stagnate its growth.
A News Nation examination of 50 years of numbers kept by the National Federation of State High School Associations found player rosters haven't been this low since 1998. Take a look at the schools in Michigan, canceling games or ending their seasons altogether.
We're running out of local teams that are our size that we can play a football game with.
And potentially lead to its downfall. Chris Borland, a rising star for the San Francisco 49ers, retired at the age of 24 after just one season.
And for me, it wasn't worth the risk.
In interview after interview, he would cite brain injuries as the cause. It scared him to death, which unfortunately has become quite common in former NFL players.
NFL great Junior Seau, 43 years old, dead of a gunshot wound to the chest.
Kansas City, where the linebacker Jovan Belcher was supposed to be taking the field today for the Chiefs. That is not going to happen, however. Police say Belcher killed his girlfriend on Saturday and then killed himself in front of his coach.
The football world has been rocked this week by the sad death of a former star. The Super Bowl winning safety Dave Durson took his own life, convinced that the despair he faced was caused in part by the damage he suffered on the football field.
All of these men were found to have CTE, which can only be posthumously diagnosed. Dr. Ann McKee, professor of neurology and pathology, as well as director neuropathology core, is a board-certified neurologist and neuropathologist whose career focuses on Alzheimer's disease and CTE.
And these are older football players, and it gives you an idea of what it becomes. So these are 20-year-olds. And this is a 65-year-old.
It's really remarkable.
Yeah,
How much.
And you start to see it spreads. It involves more and more regions of brain. It just starts encompassing vast regions. Our studies show that CTE is a progressive disease.
McKee, like Dr. Bennett Omalu, was stonewalled by NFL officials when presenting evidence of CTE in former players. The science behind CTE research, coupled with the risks of playing football, are simply unquestionable. Recall her research in 2017. She examined the brains of 202 athletes, with 111 of them playing in the National Football League. Of those 111, 110 were found to have CTE. When this all went down, the NFL continued fighting publicly, trying to save face between the link of what players are exposed to on a day-to-day basis being in their league and the link to TBI.
Concussions, I think, is one of these packed journalism issues, frankly. There's no increase in concussions. The number is relatively small. The problem is it's a journalist issue.
With Paul Tagliabue labeling it as such. Most recently, when current Commissioner Roger Goodell met the media prior to the Chiefs and Eagles facing off in the Super Bowl, he made a point of emphasis to pivot to overall injuries being down 6%. Also, the league is desperate to put out these messages that the game has never been safer than it is today, always.
And just days before Super Bowl 57, an all-new study is highlighting the serious health risk many football players face while playing on the field. Researchers at the Boston University CTE Center analyzed the brains of 376 former NFL players. They found 92% of them had CTE.
Which was released by Dr. Ann McKee intentionally, she says, in the build-up to the big game. The NFL hasn't done anything substantial to prevent CTE or diagnose CTE. The risk is still there. The risk is high, McKee would say. That's why we released it this week. Also, it's a message to people who think they might be suffering from CTE that there is help available. There are currently 5 active clinical studies on CTE run by BU and the Concussion Legacy Foundation. Former athletes of any gender who played contact sports are being invited to participate in this research so that scientists can learn how to diagnose and treat CTE. McKee says with the work she is doing, she used to be a huge football fan. It was must watch for her. Now, not so much. In addition, the National Football League, per McKee, has not had contact with her for years. It is hard to see how this is not intentional. Now, here's the thing. Young players coming in and veterans walking out the door share a common bond. For many, the message is loud and clear. Protect the shield at all costs. We hear it at all times. Protect the shield at all costs. Throughout the years, the league has done one thing: deny, deny, deny. It is their calling card. Yet in the wake of the league's biggest game, the reality of each and every game throughout the season is truly unequivocal at this point.